Hello, everyone. And first of all, Happy New Year to each and every one of you. Welcome to the Buffalo Bills pregame report, Week 17 versus the Atlanta Falcons. I'm Mike Thornton, and joining me, as always, Jake Podger. Jake, how you doing today, man? Happy New Year to you.
Yeah, Happy New Year. Happy New Year. Absolutely, Mike. Yeah, I was trying to explain what happened overnight. So it was raining yesterday and, kind of coming down pretty good. And the next thing you know, I wake up this morning and it's like, woke up at like 7:30, 8-ish. And I go outside and I looked outside and then I went outside because I'm like, I got to feel the snow. I mean, this is great. You got to get a feel for the elements. You got to see what these players are actually playing. And just a blanket of white. I mean, we got like maybe 1 to 2 inches overnight, so which is not much in Buffalo terms, but pretty cool to see. It'll be nice to watch on TV and not be freezing with the
Yeah.
rest of them. But there is something to be said about going to a game in the snow. It's kind of fun.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. You and I were talking before the show here, like how many people turn out for the game.
Yeah,
I've been reading like tickets were being sold for low prices, which to me right away that might mean we might fill the stadium. But it sounds like a lot of folks are kind of not necessarily overlooking. I don't want to say overlooking, but because of the bad weather conditions, because of COVID, I think people are just being very, very careful. And
well,
I don't blame
but
them.
Bills fans will turn out no matter what. So
That's
someone's going to
true.
buy those tickets.
Someone's gonna scoop up those tickets that are selling for 11. I heard some going as low as $11 somewhere. Those must be the nosebleeds or something.
Nosebleeds. Yeah.
But it'll be interesting and very important game that we can't overlook. So again, if you're new to the channel, first time here, hit that subscribe button, drop a nickel on it. We appreciate it. Give us a like, give us a share. Jake and I appreciate your support. We really do. So happy New Year to every one of you. Let's get going, Jake, on this game. All right.
Let's do it.
All right, let's get into the injury report, which I was shocked. I mean, for the first time in many, many games, Buffalo's looking pretty good with the new COVID shift now going
Finally.
from 10 games down to 5 games, I'm sorry, 10 days to 5 days. We were able to activate a lot of folks. And the only one showing up on the injury reports was Ed Oliver, who's questionable, and Emmanuel Sanders, who's questionable. So not much there. I expect Oliver to play. He's been having a fantastic year. Emmanuel Sanders, don't know. We got so many of our receivers back this week. We got Gabe Davis. We got Beasley with the emergence of Isaiah Mckenzie last week. Who knows where Sanders, what his role is going to be going forward. You have any thoughts on his role going forward with all these guys coming back?
Yeah, I think it's got to just be a rotation, Mike, almost like our defensive line. Just whoever has the hot hand should be playing. So, I mean, Isaiah McKenzie's coming off a great week. We got to find a way to keep him on the field. I would really like to see both him and Cole Beasley on the field at the same time. We can go underneath. We could do some gadget plays. I kind of mentioned this a little bit in our post game. I think it'd be nice to have both those guys on the field, and then you mix in a little bit of Gabe Davis, a little bit of Emmanuel Sanders. Now, Emmanuel can still get deep, too, and they're banged up. Fabian Moreau out for today. They're going to have potentially one of two rookie corners playing on the outside there, so we can take full advantage of it. So, we'll see what happens.
It'll definitely be interesting. I know that we were calling for Gabe Davis. We thought he was going to have a big week last week. And then, of course, he gets hit with COVID tag, and then Isaiah McKenzie finally gets his opportunity. And man, did he show up? And he was unwatchable. They had no answer for him with his speed across the middle.
Yeah.
I mean, I think we're going to see a fair share of him again this week. And I agree with you. It's nice. It's a nice problem to have.
It is
The ability to rotate other receivers. But for me, it's like Diggs. And if I was picking the starting lineup, it would be Diggs, Mckenzie, and Gabe Davis. I wouldn't have Sanders out there. I mean, he's been pretty quiet since around week 3. Not a lot been going on, and I don't know. I know he's been banged up a little bit, but yeah, he's a great.
I think that knee injury is pretty huge for him. I mean, in terms of speed, cutting ability, stuff like that. So I think it is affecting him a little bit, but there was no excuse for that drop, touchdown pass last week. That was pretty tough. So, yeah.
All right. Well, let's look at the Atlanta side, and they are decimated. I mean, COVID has hit them hard as COVID has hit a lot of teams. Like I said, I'm shocked to see Buffalo pretty clean on the COVID side.
I know.
But
Finally.
over here on the right side, you got Fabian Moreau, the cornerback. He was doubtful.
Yep.
The rest of these folks on the list, Jason Springs, Jonathan Bullard, who's their defensive end, he's out on COVID. Jason Springs out on COVID. Jalen Hawkins, COVID. Hayden Hurts, tight end, COVID. James Waters, COVID. Tajay Sharp, COVID. And Marlon Davidson, COVID. I mean, just running rampant over there and around the league. So they're, like you said, man, it's going to be a tough day for them for sure. And then you got four starters there over there on the right who are out. Just going to make it that much more difficult. Let's get into the weather report. So weather, and you can actually give the best weather report because you're right there. But based on what I saw, what I read this morning, it's going to be about 25 degrees at kickoff. They're expecting about 1 to 3 inches of snow, which you've already sent me a picture. I see snow on the ground, confirmed. And the wind's going to be northwesterly at 10 to 15 miles per hour. And so is this what you're seeing right now where you are?
This is exactly what I'm seeing. Roads are a little slippery too, so be careful driving out there. If you're listening, you're on your way to the game. I'll be the traffic report here too. I was just out there not too long ago. Traffic was moving decently over by the stadium. You know, it always gets a little more congested, but pretty fun to see with the snow. I love it, Mike. It feels like a real, winter football game. It's just, there's something to be said about snow in Buffalo during January. This is, it used to be a big advantage for us. I think it might be a little bit of an advantage because Atlanta's a dome team. Obviously, they're not used to playing in these conditions. And I think, we've been kind of groomed throughout the year. We played in some pretty different types of weather conditions throughout the season. So we're ready to go.
This is the real first time I think we, might be snow on the ground. I know we had the blizzard conditions a few weeks back, but
it was pretty much clear by time kickoff happened.
Now, talk to me about so, I've talked to a few friends and they're basically like, in a snow game, the winds are very reasonable, 10 to 15 miles per hour, nothing too bad at all. And in a snow game, I mean, a lot of folks, like if they're playing fantasy, they get scared. And I know that Rick mentioned this the other day, Thursday night, we did the fantasy football show. He's like, look, do not sit people in snow. It really, if anything, it advantage offense. Right?
Yeah,
I mean,
100%.
So it's not like the snow, not like we have blizzard conditions. You can see it's like the winds are not that bad. I expect Josh Allen to have a really good day if they decide to go with the passing game all day. So what's your thoughts on that? I mean, it shouldn't affect our game too much. Unlike we have seen with the rain's definitely affected us. And those high winds, of course, affects any team. But I don't expect us to be slowed down too much because of weather. Do you agree or disagree?
I 100% agree. I think the biggest thing with the snow is your footing. And we have a lot of good route runners on this team, Mike. So I think we can really exploit this defense even more so. You get the weather playing in your favor a little bit. You get Stefan Diggs on a stop and go or something like that. I mean, I know he's probably going to be going up against Aj Tyrell, who's criminally underrated. I'll get into that in a little bit. But I mean, this is perfect opportunity. It's always advantage offense as it is. Now you throw a little weather into the mix. I mean, good luck to that defense trying to cover our receivers.
We got Blake out there. Morning, Blake. How you doing, man? Good to see you.
Russian spam box.
We do. We got a couple of folks out there.
Hey.
It very well could be. Jake and I noticed that a couple shows ago. And if they're not bots, welcome to the channel.
Welcome. We want you here. I mean, shoot. This is great. You're adding a little commentary.
All right. Let's get into a little bit about the Falcons. So, offense. They're 25th in total yards per game with 309.5. They're 31st in rushing yards per game, dead last at 86.2. They're 16th in the passing yards per game at 223.3. And they're 25th overall points per game, 18.5. On the defensive side, they're 28th in points per game. They give up 26.7. They're 24th in yards per game, 364.9. 23rd in the passing yards per game, 22nd in the rushing yards per game at 120. Sorry, I didn't mention 244 in the passing yards per game that they give up. They're dead last in sacks on the year, 16. They really don't get a lot of pressure on the QB, and they're 21st in takeaways. So this team has had it rough this year, yet here they are still. They're 7-8. I mean, they're still statistically, mathematically, I should say, alive in the playoff picture. So they're going to be coming hard. They're going to be giving it off. They can win out. They need a lot of help. But, I mean, when you look at these numbers here, both on offense and defense, it's amazing to me that they're 7-8. To be honest with you.
I know. I read something too, and it said all of their wins have been like one-score games, and their losses have been absolute blowouts. So they've lost by a tremendous amount of points. I think they have the worst point differential in the league. Actually, they're like minus. I don't know the exact number, but it's pretty bad. I do know that. So yeah, all their losses have been absolute blowouts. All their wins, very close games, and they just beat the Lions by a very small margin last week.
Yeah. I feel like the Lions, I mean, a lot of teams can say that. A lot of teams have beat the Lions by a very small margin. I still remember the Ravens. It took a record breaking
66-yarder.
Right, in the last second to win that game. And they were decimated. And that's my new word, by the way, Jacob. Decimated. They were decimated with injuries.
Strong word.
I don't think they even had their starting quarterback last year. That's last week. That was Detroit. And yet they still almost pulled that one out. So, yeah, I mean, again, it's surprising to me that they've gotten to where they are, but I mean, they have a crafty veteran there at QB, Matt Ryan, who can still get it done, and we'll talk about him in a little bit. All right, we got Blake out there. We got Jason joining us. Morning, Jason.
What's the hurry? I love that, Uncle Jay. Great dad joke. I respect it.
Want to fill us on the inside joke there?
Well, he said Russian. What's the hurry?
Okay.
Pretty funny. I like it.
All right, let's move on here to your key matchups for the week.
Yes.
So we got the Bills secondary versus Kyle Pitts, and you got Diggs versus Aj Tyrell. So go ahead and talk to me about the Bills secondary versus Kyle Pitts.
Yeah, well, I said Bills secondary because Kyle Pitts lines up all across the field. He very rarely is in a three-point stance and blocking as a tight end. I think actually it was, back when I did the fantasy football show with Chris gave me a stat. And it was like the Falcons ran 60 some odd plays. And he asked me, how many of those plays did Kyle Pitts actually line up as an actual tight end? And it was like 8 of 60 that he was actually in a specific tight end position. Because they also have Hayden Hurst, who is out because of COVID. So may change the game plan a little bit. I don't think it's going to. Kyle Pitts is basically just a big receiver playing there. And he's had a really nice year. He made the Pro Bowl as a rookie, 964 yards, only 1 touchdown, which is very interesting. But he's definitely a nightmare, a matchup nightmare. So whoever's covering him is going to have their hands full. I do think it's going to be probably a nickel corner. Maybe Taryn Johnson sees a lot of him. Maybe it's one of our safeties that come down. Probably have a couple, plays where he goes up against a linebacker here and there. Hopefully it's Matt Milano, fingers crossed. I don't trust Tremaine Edmonds in coverage with him at all. I don't. No, I don't. I think even though Tremaine has the speed, he's been way too inconsistent for me in coverage. And I think he's had a very up and down season, but that's besides the fact. Anyways, I was talking about the secondary. I definitely think that he's going to be spread out wide. He's going to be playing in the slot a little bit. So our corners are going to see a lot of them today.
Yeah, I agree. I was thinking the same thing. I was like, who would be guarding him? And I could see some Taryn Johnson. I could see some Poyer. And like you said, one of the linebackers. I thought maybe Tremaine, only because of his size and speed. But Milano is also one of the better, what do you want to call it? Defending the pass linebackers there are. So I can see some of him as well. And yeah, you're right. I mean, to me, this is how they're going to have to win the game with Pitts and any other healthy receiver that they have. And Matt Ryan's going to have a great game. So good choice on that one, Kyle Pitts. He was drafted. Was he a first-round pick this year? I think he was, right?
I believe the highest drafted tight end ever. He was 3rd overall by the Falcons. So, yeah.
Well, he's paying dividends for them for sure. On the other side, you got Stefan Diggs versus Aj Tyrell. So talk to me about that one.
Yeah, so Aj Tyrell, criminally underrated corner, in my opinion, a top 5 corner in this league. I read something going into last week's game. He had only allowed 1 catch for 10 yards like over the last 4 games heading into last week, which is insane. And that was per game. So 1 catch for 10 yards, like each game on average throughout those 4 games. So it was pretty impressive just to hear that alone. He was a first-round pick for the Falcons in 2020 out of Clemson, kind of a raw guy coming in. People thought that maybe the Falcons reached a little bit. He had his ups and downs as a rookie year, but this year he's been absolutely tremendous. Now, he isn't being targeted as much. It's almost like the Levi Wallace, Trey White situation because Fabian Moreau seems to be getting a lot more targets his way, and he struggled a little bit this year. He's going to be out today too. So like I mentioned, they have 2 rookie corners that might be playing in that spot. so we could take advantage of that. But Aj Tyrell has been fantastic. He's put the clamps on everyone he's played up against. It's going to be a good test with him and Stefan Diggs. And physicality is going to win this one, and I think Stefan Diggs will. But it's going to be a nice challenge, and I'm excited to see what happens between those two.
Yeah, I agree. It seems like every week we're talking about Stefan Diggs and who's gonna go up against them, and more times than not, Stefan Diggs will win that matchup, and I expect him to do the same here. Let's go back to the channel real quick because Uncle Jay has a question. What's the biggest change in Atlanta since the Super Bowl? Obviously, to me, the biggest change is no Julio Jones, an aging Matt Ryan, and just a team that's, they have two, we're going to talk about them because I have them as impact players. We got 2 6th-round picks from 2018 in their starting lineup. So what have you seen the biggest changes since the Super Bowl?
Yeah, I think the biggest thing with them is, they brought Dan Quinn in. He was a defensive-minded coach, and their defense could never get up and running. I mean, they led up. It was 28-3 at half of that Super Bowl, and everyone remembers it's so infamous. And, of course, New England comes back, rallies their way, and ends up winning the game. Their defense has been the biggest letdown, and Matt Ryan really has never played with an elite defense, and I feel for him because he puts up insane numbers every year. Now, this year's been a little weird for him. You can kind of see the age showing a little bit. He struggled a bit at times, but he could still get it done. He still has everything up here, and I think that's what's been able to still allow him to play at a high level at times this year. But I think the biggest thing for Atlanta has always been their defense. They can't seem to figure it out. They let up way too many points. They let up way too many big plays. They don't have a pass rush. They try to bring in Dante Fowler. Vic Beasley, I don't know if you remember Vic Beasley in that 2016 season, had a phenomenal year, and then he was just done. I mean, I don't know what happened to him. He just a couple injuries here and there, and he just sort of fizzled out. So, I think that's always been the biggest issue with Atlanta. They brought in some pretty, good, solid players on defense, and they even so with those guys like Desmond Trufant, you have a couple other guys that have been there in and out. They can't figure it out. I don't know. Brent Grimes, another great name. But yeah, I think defense is the biggest issue. And then you have Arthur Smith, their head coach, who comes in, offensive mind. And you think with Calvin Ridley, Kyle Pitts, Cordero Patterson, no one thought Cordero Patterson was going to have the season that he's having right now. Even Mike Davis, people thought that was a pretty decent signing, but more or less just a stopgap guy until they bring in another running back. But you have all those guys, you think, man, the offense is going to be unstoppable, but here they are sitting kind of towards the bottom of the league. So, and I think, Calvin Ridley being out definitely hurts a lot. He, hopefully everything's good with him. I don't know, personal issues. I'm not really sure what's going on with that, but messed me up a little bit in fantasy, which is very frustrating. But yeah, everyone thought this offense was going to be insane, unstoppable, one last run for Matt Ryan, and it just hasn't been that way. So, yeah.
Well, I agree with you. And like you said, Calvin Ridley, it's been a huge loss for him. I mean, Ryan's actually had he's thrown for over 3,500 yards.
Yeah, still a solid
19 touchdowns, only 11. He's only had 11 INTs. So he's had a very solid year considering he doesn't have a starting guy. It'd be like, Josh without Diggs for most of the year, right? I mean, it'd be a different story. So anyhow, let's see. We got a couple other questions. So this is about Edmonds. You think we have to accept, this is from Blake, Tremaine Edmonds the way he is, athletic and all, but I feel like we can't stop using the excuse that he's so young. I agree with that.
I know.
I've been critical of him for a couple of years now, and I don't know if we can keep using that excuse. Your thoughts?
Right, and he actually played, so that's the thing too, Mike, like we talk about it every week. I feel like it's so up and down. Last week he had a really nice game, I thought. He was aggressive. He didn't overcommit. There was the one play on that run play by Damian Harris, which we had on film, the cutback run where he sort of overcommitted, overpursued to the one side. But really outside of that, he did a really nice job. He was aggressive. He was getting in there a little bit, was decent in coverage. But we need to see that every game, and we just don't. Like, it's so crazy, the improvement and then regression the week following. Like, we need to have consistency across the board with him, and I just feel like we haven't gotten that. And, yeah, you can only use that excuse for so many years, so many games. I mean, yeah, he's young, but I just, I don't know. I feel like he might be more of a liability than anything right now.
Well, I mean, so last week I did feel he played a pretty good game. We do see his biggest problem is the run stop, right? He over pursues a lot. He's not filling that gap. But they have been using him a little differently. They've been bringing him with some on blitzes more often.
I love when they send him up the middle. I think that's great.
He's got that, he's got that height, long reach, and I saw him make some really good plays last week. I don't know about the run problem. I mean, it seems to have been something that's haunted him for a few years now,
Yeah.
and he just I don't know what it is. It's just when you're trying to stop the run, it's like an instinct thing with linebackers, and you either have that or you don't. He's got
Right.
all the athleticism in the world, but if he can't figure out that run, that run
Yeah.
stop,
That's
to
huge.
me,
That's
to
half
me,
the game,
to me, to me, I don't know. I don't know. You're the X and O guy. I would feel like somebody, coaching staff, they've brought in Luke Kuechly during the offseason, right? One of the best at the
Yeah.
position to work with him. I would think that'd be something that you could help him get over. Am I missing
Right.
something, or is
Well,
it?
I think you got to do one of two things. You can't continue to trust him in the middle like that. It's not his natural position. We've tried. I feel like we're almost forcing it at this point. Now, I do think he can be effective when you bring him. You send him on a blitz, you send him up the middle, you even use him in pass rushing situations. He is decent in coverage from time to time. And I think the thought was you have him in the middle, you have this big 6'5" guy across the middle. I
Yeah,
mean, good luck throwing across the middle with a guy that tall. That definitely plays into the quarterback psyche, makes him a little more hesitant to throw across the middle. But then again, I mean, with how he's been in the run game as a middle linebacker, you have to be a good run stopper to be effective.
yeah,
And that's just not there. So I think they've given him a lot of freedom, and we're starting to see that, yeah, he's an athletic freak, but his instincts maybe that's just not the right position for him. So I think we have to do either one of two things. We have to trade him or we have to play him in a different spot. And that's my thought on that.
love it. Hey, by the way, I love that Uncle Jay's being pretty vocal today. I mean,
Yeah.
he's been pretty
Yeah.
quiet. We know he's been out there, but here he is. He's coming strong today. So
I love it.
love it. And Big Al's out there now. Says I think the Bills will dominate today because I think they learned a very good lesson. And when they lost to the Jaguars, don't take any team for granted. Yep, I totally agree. And let's see here. Blake says, well, I think we owe him some money coming up. He's going to be asking for a lot, which is Edmonds, right? That's who he's
Yeah.
talking about.
Blake just being real, saying he's soft.
Yeah.
Wow. I love it.
Can't play him on the edge. And why can't we play him on the edge? Why is that?
I guess, yeah, you've seen it a little. I don't know, actually. I don't think we've really tried him there
Right.
that often. But Blake just thinks that he's soft, so he probably can't play out there. I think we give it a shot and see what happens. I mean, Micah Parsons, you see what's going on with him right now. I mean, he's playing all over the place, and he's leading the Cowboys in sacks. He's got what 13 and a half sacks this year. It's not even his natural position, but they found a way to get him in the right spot there. So
Yeah. Well, I can't argue what Blake's saying. I mean, I have felt at times I always see him. He's
arm tackle, stuff like
arm
that.
tackle. He's always he doesn't seem to be able to shed blocks on those defensive linemen very well at all.
Yeah, that's fair.
Right.
That's fair.
So, all right. Well, let's move on. I love it, guys. Love it.
Yeah, this is great.
I love Uncle Jay out there being vocal and Blake bringing in Big L, of course. All right, let's get into some of my key matchups, and this kind of touches on your comment there, Big L. Buffalo Bills versus the Buffalo Bills, right? I mean, don't overlook any team. Don't overlook this team. Yes, you're coming off the biggest win of the year last week against the Patriots. Don't take your foot. That was on my thumbnail. Don't take the foot off the gas. Do not take the foot off the gas and look past this team at all, or else we'll have another situation like we did with the Jaguars. I mean, that was just to me a great lesson learned. And I see it. It's not just the Bills who learn that lesson. Every team in the AFC, actually in the NFL, from week to week, somebody is always getting upset. Always. I mean, look at last week. I think it was the Chargers. Weren't they upset versus the
the Texans.
The Texans, who we just whooped early in the
Mills
year.
Mafia, baby. Mills Mafia.
Man, Mills Mafia. Yeah. I mean, this is a Charger team that was looking great, and I'm like, damn, I don't want to face that team in the playoffs. And here they are now on the outside looking in because they let that game get away from them. So week to week, I agree. Buffalo Bills, play your game. Do not overlook this team. And honestly, Jake, I don't like to say this at all, but I mean, this is a game. We're fortunate enough, first of all, to have the finish with the Falcons and the Jets. These are very winnable games. And there's no reason that we should not win this game handily. I'm not going to say easily. I don't know, handily, easily. You could say they're one and the same. But stay within yourselves, play your game, and you should come away with a dub easily. Over there on the other side, I got Russell Gage. Since you took Pitts, their other guy, who is another 6th-round pick, and I'm going to talk about another one of the 6th-round picks in a little bit. But Russell Gage, 6th-round pick back in 2018. Most of the year he wasn't doing much, but when really stopped playing because of personal problems, he kind of stepped up. He's been a target machine. 3 of the 4 last weeks. Of course, the 1 week that I come to Buffalo and pick him up to be on my fantasy football team,
man,
he lays a goose
horrible
egg, and I literally lose because of that. But anyhow, he's another option. He's 6 foot. It's not big. He's very fast though. He's like runs a 4.42, 40. So pretty quick guy, athletic, and he has had a problem holding on to the ball. I don't say holding the ball. He's fumbled a couple times this year. But he's going to be a guy that Matt Ryan's going to have to depend on. And I believe he'll be going up against Levi. So that'll be a nice matchup there. And so those are my key matchups. Any thoughts on what I said there, Jake?
Love it. Yeah, I 100% agree. Buffalo Bills versus Buffalo Bills, one game at a time. We should be able to win these 2 games, but you got to build some confidence going into the playoffs. And obviously you can't just lay an egg. You got to go out there and play. You got to go out there, show some pride, and show that we're ready to go. And just, I think that these games are so I mean, even the fans kind of buy into this too, where they just look at this team and they're like, oh, this is going to be a walk in the park. And it always catches up to you at some point. So yeah, I mean, got to go out there and just perform, execute, and just play really sound football. And I think we're going to be okay. Slinky, shout out to you. Falcons are a dome team. We should be fine. We should be fine. We should be fine. Absolutely. That's what everyone says. We should be fine. But yeah, again, can't take it for granted for sure.
Yeah.
And then Russell Gage versus Levi Wallace. It's going to be interesting to see who matches up against him because Russell Gage has played a lot of slot too. So Taryn Johnson, I expect to see some of him on Russell Gage as well. But yeah, I mean, he's been tremendous for them. I think he's been a really good find in the 6th round for the Falcons. Has put up some pretty decent numbers too over the last few seasons. So just very unfortunate that he lost you that game for fantasy, Mike.
and I blame you a little bit there because it was like,
I know it's my fault.
I'm not even going to say who the other guy was because I look silly. It was
Gabe, right?
Gabe
Davis.
Gabe scored a touchdown that day.
Man,
brutal. All right, let's move on to your impact players. Hey, Brandon, good to see you out there. Snowy one today. My son Brandon out there on the channel. So we're getting a lot of family members. I love it. Let's start the new year. Love to see all the family members out there. And Slinky, good to see you as always. Let's move on here to your impact players, Jake. So we got your favorite guy. I think he's been showing up a lot lately is Mr. Josh Allen. You got Isaiah McKenzie and you got Micah Hyde. So talk to me about those guys.
I know. I feel bad. I feel like I just picked the easiest names that you could possibly pick out there. But I mean, it is what it is. I mean, this is the weather that Josh was built for. So I expect that we throw all over this team. I don't want to just see a run game trying to be established all game long. I think we take advantage and throw the ball, put it in the air, put the ball in a receiver's hands and score a lot of points. Pretty simple, I think. So Josh Allen, big day for him. And he might have a big rushing day as well. Then you have Isaiah McKenzie coming off the big game, the hot hand. Find a way to get him on the field. We have to find a way to get him the football. I don't care what you do. You put Cole on the field, Isaiah at the same time. I think that would be just tremendous. I hope it happens. Maybe Brian Label's in the chat listening, but Isaiah McKenzie obviously has shown that he can play receiver a little bit. So let's give him a chance. If he's not returning kicks, at least get some usage out of him. And he showed we could do last week. So it's beautiful. And then Micah Hyde coming off a 2-interception game. I pretty much just picked all the hot hands from last week, Mike. Yeah, it's going to be interesting to see who ends up covering Kyle Pitts in certain formations. But I think our safeties are going to be huge today, and one of them is going to come up with a nice interception. Hopefully, it's my guy Micah Hyde. Then I have for the Falcons, Cordero Patterson having one of the most unexpected seasons. Cordero's always been really, really good, and even Stefan Diggs said earlier on in the week that the receivers coach with the Vikings, because they both played on the Vikings at the same time, had said that no one should be able to cover Cordero Patterson. He's so big. He's so physical. I have a story for you about Cordero Patterson, Mike. So me and my brother-in-law, Zach, shout out to Zach. He's in the chat here as well. Cordero Patterson was actually doing warm-ups on the field. We went to the Monday night game. It was 3 seasons ago, and Derek Anderson was our starting quarterback at the time. So shout out to Derek Anderson. It was his first start with the Bills. and they actually honored Thurman Thomas at halftime. But anyways, we're playing New England, and Cordero Patterson was on the Patriots at the time. And, you always knew that Cordero Patterson's a bigger receiver. He's like 6'2", 220, and he's good at returning kicks. He's super fast. But then you actually see him in person, and it's like, this guy is a monster. He's an absolute freak of nature. No man that big as a receiver should be that fast and that useful where he can play pretty much any position on the field. They're even talking about playing him at safety a little bit this year. So I
Wow.
loved his response to this too, because he said, people asked him, the media members and whatnot, they asked him, how do you feel about playing, 3 different positions potentially for the Falcons? He said, well, my mom worked, 3 different jobs, so I can play 3 different positions on my team right now.
Nice.
So I'm like, that's pretty cool. What a great
Yeah.
response. So love that guy. A lot of humility out of him. He's just a dual threat. He's got 500 plus receiving yards, 500 plus rushing yards, and over 10 touchdowns this year. So he's been a tremendous find there. They started sort of playing him at running back like full time, even so last year a little bit. But and that was with the Bears, and then he came to Atlanta and kind of piggybacked off that a little bit. So just a really good find for them. He's going to be a weapon. Him in the snow could be scary. So definitely got to pay attention to him. Then you have Kyle Pitts. We talked about Kyle Pitts a lot. 964 yards this year and a touchdown. He's a rookie. He's a tremendous threat, more of a receiver than a tight end, but just a big-bodied guy. Matchup nightmare. Guy's well on his way to a really nice career. Hopefully he stays, and they could figure it out in Atlanta. And then Aj Tyrell, the most underrated corner in football, going to be probably covering Stefan Diggs for most of the day today. And it's going to be a battle. It's going to be a good test for him. Like I said, he really hasn't allowed a whole lot of catches or yards this season. So this might be the first time all year that he lets something up big. So we'll see. But those are my guys.
Gotcha. Yeah, Patterson. I saw him early on in his years with Minnesota, and I don't know it's taken so long. The guy had speed. Nobody gave him a chance and really utilized him that much. And
Yeah.
I just don't get it. But it's great to see somebody that's been around for that many seasons finally starting to shine. And again, I mean, out of college, I think he was expected. I'd have to look, and maybe
He was a first round pick.
I was going to say, I was going to
Yeah.
say, he probably was a high draft choice, and he had the speed. I don't know about if the hands were there early on, but it just took somebody to finally realize that we got to give this guy a chance, and here he is,
Right.
excelling now. So amazing. And then we talked about Pitts and Tyrell, so that's interesting. I want to go to the channel real quick because your dad's throwing out a big comment there. He says, "I would pull everyone. We need to stay healthy."
No.
Big Al, come on.
No,
What's going on?
You're
Big
sending
Al?
the wrong message with that. We got 2 games left. They're both must-win games. We want to win the division. I don't want to just sneak into the playoffs. I want to win convincingly. Maybe once we get a 30-point lead on Atlanta, we can start thinking about pulling guys.
Maybe that's
If we get that.
if we get a comfortable lead.
Yep.
Maybe that's what it says. And I love Zach. Zach still, he's coming strong with the. I put zero stock in the weather being a what do you want to call it, a role,
Southern versus Northern
right
thing. Yeah.
And he's making me a believer based on what I've seen over the season. The weather has we've actually said, man, it might be better for us to play on the road where we don't have to face the weather conditions that we've been facing. Seems like this year we had more rain games than normal, it felt like. And of course we had that New England game, which is just horrendous, but he's starting to make me a believer in that. And to some degree I said, well, I grew up there and I've come out here, but it's taken me years to adapt. And those players, you're right, when it's not game day, you think Diggs is out in the cold, making snowmen and throwing snowballs and getting used to that? No, he's probably staying warm with his nice big jacket on. And I don't know. He's starting to make me a believer.
The only one so I think it affects the quarterbacks the most, the weather. If you're not used to throwing in the cold weather, there's definitely a difference there. And I think that's why it's important that we have Josh as a quarterback, because he's used to this type of stuff,
Yeah.
We just have to use him. I mean, that New England game, there was no excuse to stop throwing the football. I mean, I know the wind was there, but Josh was throwing the ball through the wind. So, yeah, I mean, let him unleash. And I think we've been letting him do his thing the last couple of weeks, which is great because he is the most dangerous player in football.
Yeah, for sure. And you're right. I mean, that's a good point. The quarterbacks definitely might have an advantage because that ball's harder, right? I mean, it's cold out there. getting a grip on it. So you have to have a big hand like Josh does. But and Matt Ryan, it could be a little difficult for him today. We'll see. But he's been around, but he's mostly been all his career has been playing in a
Hey, he's a
dome.
Boston College guy though, so he is used to these elements a little
True,
bit.
but years and years ago, right?
True. Yeah.
I mean, Matt's in his 14th season now, which is incredible.
Yeah.
All right, so Zach, I'm with you, man. Starting to believe it. And let's see who else we got there. Let's see. He said
Blake disagrees with me.
Big Al says Patterson's contract is up at the end of this year, in free agent 2022. Bills should take a look, and I don't disagree with you.
I would love that. Yeah, I mean, he wants to go to a winning team. Clearly, I mean, he's in his 30s now, so he's kind of on the back nine now. So, would be nice to take a chance on him. Maybe sign him to a 2-year deal. He's probably going to want a little bit more money, but knowing him, I think he would settle for a winning team.
Okay. All right, let's move on to my impact players. So my guy, Devin Singletary, who at the beginning of the year, Jake, I was all about Singletary. I was like, everyone was saying Moss. I'm like, no, it's Singletary's the guy. Then there was a couple games, and you almost converted me. You might have, but
Yeah.
I'm back on the Singletary train. I've been for a while, and I said since the beginning of the year, give this guy 60 to 70% of the snaps. I think he's earned that, and look what happened. I mean, there was something that kicked in that second half against the Buccaneers, and Singletary, guy runs hard. And,
Yeah, he does.
I mean, it's hard to get him for a loss at all. He's constantly moving, and at times he plays like he's a big back. It's just how hard he goes. So I'm a big Singletary fan. I've been for a while now, and I think he can make a big difference. And I expect, believe it or not, I know everyone's thinking Josh is going to throw the ball all over the field, which I think he'll have a good day. But I'm expecting Singletary to have 100 plus yards rushing today.
Wow.
And at least one touchdown. So
that's your bold statement of the day.
That's
100
my
yards
bold
rushing.
statement. 100 yards.
All right. When was the last time we had a 100-yard
I don't
match?
know. I don't know.
Got to look that one up.
I mean,
it was probably last year.
Well, earlier in the season, we had Singletary break that 45-yarder against the Dolphins. I'd be curious if we were able to get to 100. He only needed.
I think he had 80-something,
really?
86 yards or something like that. Yeah.
All right. Well, because of the weather, and again, we said snow isn't really going to impact Josh much, but I think it'll help the run game. Also, the Atlanta Falcons do not have a good defense at all, so I think they're going to have their hands full trying to stop that passing attack. I think Singletary is going to take advantage of it.
All right.
Taryn Johnson, always a favorite of ours, always a favorite of mine. I'm going to put him out there again. Like you said, that was good information where you said Russell Gage plays slot a lot. We also talked about Taryn Johnson potentially helping out with Kyle Pitts. So I expect Taryn Johnson to make a play here in this game. And then Gabe Davis coming back last week. I mean, he had his breakout game for us this year a couple weeks ago. We expected that to continue last week. Then he got tagged with COVID. He's back. I expect to see him having a nice game today. And again, with the emergence of Mckenzie, though, I don't know. It's going to be interesting.
Yeah, it's going to be really interesting to see how often those guys are on the field.
Yeah, and that's why I see one guy who's going to be out there a lot is Singletary. So
yeah,
big day from him.
That's true. I like it, Mike.
On the Falcons side of the ball, Matt Ryan, we've talked about it, 14-year veteran. The guy, he's having another good year. He's over 3,500 yards on the season, 19 touchdowns, only 11 interceptions. The guy's seen it all, and if they're going to have any chance, they're going to have to rely on his arm, I believe, and we can't overlook this guy. Do not sleep on Matt Ryan. He can still sling the ball. So that's huge for them. It's huge to have that leadership, and
only one more touchdown to surpass Eli Manning too, career touchdown passes.
Yeah.
So, and I think that moves him up to 8th or 9th all time or something on the list.
And he's doing it with, I mean, all right. Imagine Matt Ryan starting for the Buffalo Bills with all the talent. I don't want to take anything away from Josh Allen. Don't get me wrong. But look who's Matt Ryan's dealing with. He's got his first rounder, Kyle Pitts, who's a stud and is the future for that team for sure. He's been without Calvin Ridley. He's had to rely on Russell Gage, who's a 6th rounder from back in 2018. He just hasn't had the weapons. And now he's at Patterson. Patterson's out there having a good year for him. But really,
Olamide Zaccheaus. Another
Yeah.
name that everyone probably knows super well.
So, I mean, when you consider the weapons he has, he's having a phenomenal year, and we cannot sleep on this guy. Do not sleep on him at
Yeah.
all. Already talked about Russell Gage, and then Foye Aluakan. Say that name. Foye Aluakan. I had to
It's a hell
research
of a
that
name.
name.
Yeah.
He's a middle linebacker for them. Also, sixth rounder back in 2018. I believe he's out of Yale,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
Gage was out of LSU. So the guy's been playing. I mean, I think you had said he's like one of the leaders in tackles on the year. He was
Yeah.
the NFC Defensive Player of the Week last week. He had 14 tackles, one tackle for loss, and an interception. He's not a big guy. He's not a
No,
big
not at all.
guy. He's
215 pounds.
yeah, he's 250 pounds, 6'2", but extremely fast.
Yeah.
Ran a 4.48. Here's an interesting fact about him. So he wasn't invited to the NFL Combine. Obviously, he's a sixth-round draft choice. He didn't get invited. But he ran a 4.48 40-yard time. And that 4.48 40-yard time would have been sixth amongst the linebackers at the combine there.
Those guys are you know, that's crazy that's sixth, because you go back maybe 10 years ago, no middle linebacker is even breaking like 4.6.
Yeah.
Because they're just built differently now. So you had the old school thumper middle linebacker, you know, bigger build, short, stocky guy, the London Fletchers of the league, the Ray Lewises, etc. Now they're built more to be a little more mobile. They could play in coverage a little bit. Yeah, I mean, 6'2", 215, totally different, right?
Yeah.
I mean, he's 40 pounds less than your average middle linebacker was 10 seasons ago. So pretty interesting. That would have been sixth on the list.
Yeah.
That's insane. I mean,
then,
what a
and then he ran 4.12 in the short shuttle, which would have been second amongst the linebackers.
Really good.
Yeah. So he's obviously a talent. And I've watched some film on him. And even though he's 215, the guy's physical. You wouldn't know he's 215.
Yeah, he is.
You would think at 215, that guy's not going to make any tackles at the line of scrimmage. But he's all over the field, super athletic, and he's one impact player on the defensive side that can make something happen today. Again, we already talked about they're last in sacks. Again, I don't have pressure stats for you, but I would imagine that's also pretty much near the bottom. So Josh should have lots of time. But this is a guy who could make things a little interesting over the middle. And on the run game as well, with my prediction on Singletary. Any thoughts on the guys that I mentioned?
Yeah, well, your guy, I can't even pronounce his name. I just know he's a really good football player. I followed him over the last few. Yeah, I call him just Foye. Yeah, that's the best way to name him. I can't pronounce his last name at all. Yeah, I mean, really cool story. Nigerian immigrants, his parents, he came over to the United States. Played at Yale. He was a 6th-round pick. He's got 166 tackles this year, and he's actually second on the team in sacks with 2. Their leader is Dante Fowler with 4.5. So, yeah, again, I mean, I think that's actually, let me look at this for a second. I believe, yeah, I mean, outside of that, they have Deion Jones, who also has 2 sacks. And then, yeah, there's like a couple other players. Everyone else has like nothing. So it's just crazy to see. I mean, you have a bunch of 1-sack guys, but wild that they just don't get to the quarterback at all. So, but yeah, Foye, he's 166 tackles. Great story. Love that you put him on your list, Mike, because I really wanted to put him on mine, but I just felt like the other guys I had ahead of him were probably just a touch more better. So great to see. Russell Gage, yeah, we talked about him a lot.
Yeah,
he's a weapon there. And Matt Ryan, still, you're just a trusty veteran quarterback. So. And in my opinion, if it wasn't for him losing that Super Bowl, maybe it helps elevate his Hall of Fame status a little bit, because numbers wise, he's right there with everything, and he's put up insane numbers. He won an MVP too, so he does have the resume.
Yeah, for sure. Let's see. We got some predictions coming out there. So yeah, please put your predictions out there. As you know, if we hit the prediction, we give away a $50 gift card. So get it out there. And let's see. What's he saying? Big J or Uncle J saying, Mike, it's like you got stock in TJ. EJ? Did I say who's TJ?
TJ.
He's like Mike. It's
Taryn Johnson. Taryn Johnson.
Yeah. Sorry.
Yeah.
You're right, Uncle Jay. You're right. I mean, but Jake's been right there with me. Taryn Johnson, as we know, over the last couple of seasons, he made, especially last year, right, in that game against my son's favorite team, the Ravens, made a huge pick 6 in that game. I think he even had a pick 6 earlier in the season against the Steelers that
Yeah.
year. So
Yeah. Yes,
yeah,
it was.
so he's a playmaker, and there are times when we're playing against the running teams that I want to see a little bit less of him. I want to see a little more AJ Klein, and I think we've seen that recently. But the guy makes plays. I mean, he gets behind the line of scrimmage, gets pressures, and is a very, very good defender. So yeah, I definitely have some. I bought a lot of stock on him early on this season.
I like that. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
let's see what else we got. Diggs brought Patterson some wings when he got in for the game. I hope he overate and can't move very well. And maybe he
I
bought
love
them.
that.
Maybe he got them the suicide, the hot ones, the extra hot
Oh,
ones.
that would have been hilarious. Hey, speaking of that, I wanted to talk about this. I'm
Oh
glad my dad reminded me.
yeah,
I sent you that tweet from Mike Davis, the running back for the Falcons. So he mentioned, Atlanta has the best wings. He tweets this out. He says Atlanta has the best wings. Convince me otherwise. So then Reed Ferguson reaches out to him and says, "Hey, buddy, I'll get you some wings from Barbill when you come into town into Buffalo, right?" So he did tweet out that he tried the honey butter barbecue wings at Barbill, and he takes
that's
back everything that he says, and that Buffalo has the best wings. So there you go, Mike Davis. Thanks for submitting and understanding that Buffalo is the best wing wise out
I
there,
hope he
and it's
or
Barbill too.
yeah, I hope he ordered them extra crispy though.
Yeah, extra
Uh,
saucy, extra crispy. That's
I
the way I
hope he
do it,
did
Mike.
extra
Great.
crispy. And so big news from Big Al out there, which doesn't surprise me so much, is Sanders is inactive. He was questionable. He was the only one of the two guys on the injury report. And with all the guys we're getting back, doesn't surprise me that we're gonna
Yeah,
get him some rest, try to get him fully healthy for what we hope to be a playoff run.
I'm okay with it.
Yeah, and then let's see here. Allen is good enough where the line shouldn't be a factor. I don't know. The offensive line, I mean, to me, since that second half against the Bucks, something's changed.
Yeah,
And they're playing extremely well. I do know when we had the case where Spencer Brown had to move over to left tackle. Obviously, he struggled that game, but he got a little bit. He was left tackle to start the game last week and did a pretty good job. So he had a week to work on it. I mean, I'm just thinking about it. I mean, if you're a swing tackle, when you're playing right tackle most of the season, and that's where you're getting all your reps, and you have to move over,
that's
that's
a tough
that's
adjustment.
difficult. That's tough,
Yeah,
right? And this
right.
is a rookie doing this. This
Yeah,
is a rookie we're doing with it. So I do think he's feeling more comfortable on the right side, which is where he'll be today, with Dawkins back over there on the left, and the offensive line. I don't know. Josh had plenty of time against the pretty good pretty good defense last week against the Patriots. Now I know you were right, and I looked at the film as well. They had to respect Josh, so they weren't just going all out with the edge rushing. They were trying to contain him, so that kind of took a little pressure off. Also helped that they have somewhat resemblance of a run game that they had to respect with Singletary having
yeah,
a pretty decent game. So
right.
when you factor that in, I think the line is starting to gel a little bit. And then talk to me about the guy you've been asking for, Bates, right?
I love him.
You've been saying he should
Yes.
play. He played last week, looked really
Thank
good.
you.
They're scared to play him because he's the only backup to the center that we have.
Right.
But
Right.
he looked good, right? He
He's
looked very good.
fantastic, Mike. He could play any position on the line. He actually came into the league as a tackle, and he's now the backup center. He's just so well rounded. You could pretty much plug and play him wherever you want to. He's just a very good football player. So
Yeah.
love that he's actually in the starting lineup now. You've seen what it's done for us across the board. I think it's really solidified our offensive line. Deion Dawkins actually played really well last week too. And we talked about the lack of sacks that the Falcons have had all year. They don't really have a dominant
Yeah.
pass rusher. Dante Fowler, yeah, he's a good player. He's not what he was 2 seasons ago. So yeah, I don't think it's going to be an issue today. I think Josh is going to stay unprotected. No sacks allowed. Big bold statement right there. Get him moving early. Have them respect him. Of course, I mean that's a huge thing as it is. I think those design rollout plays are huge too. But yeah, it's going to be a good day for the offensive line again.
I agree. So we're at that point. Everyone get your predictions out there. I'm going to start with you, Jake, and kind of talk to me how you see this game playing out and what you see that score being.
I think for the first time, we're going to get out to a nice early lead, and it's going to be a convincing one. So I expect us to go up by, 1, 2, 3 scores, maybe 3 scores at half. We're feeling good, and then we just carry it on through the second half. I don't think it's going to be a crazy blowout game or anything like that, but I'm going to stick with a nice score here. I'm going to say 31-14 Bills. And I'm going to type that in right now.
All right. So I
But
like
we're going to
that.
have a nice early lead and probably just, kind of coast a little bit into the second half. It's going to be like 21-0 at half. Maybe the Falcons come back. They score one. Now, 21-7 at half, I'm going to say. 21-7 at half. And then it's just going to be 31-14 at the end of it.
All right. I like that.
Nothing crazy.
The Falcons do average 18 and a half points a game. So, but they're playing against one of the best defenses in the league. So I'm going to say we hold them to 10 points.
Okay. Wow.
And I'm not going to say we get over. I'm going to say 24-10 Bills.
Okay.
So just a good defensive game. I think we're going to control the clock a lot. If Singletary, if my prediction comes true, we'll be running the ball a lot, taking a lot of time off the clock. And I think that's going to keep the score down a little bit, but I think it'll be a comfortable score. And I haven't been wanting to say this again. I don't think you should overlook this team at all, but I just feel like things are clicking. They got to play within themselves, not overlook this team, and it should come away to victory. 24-10 is my prediction.
I like that. And Mike, I think we got to add a new segment now because we just made two bold statements. You said Devin Singletary is going to have 100 yards.
I like that.
And the offensive line is not going to allow a sack. So we got to do a thing. We each have one bold statement a week.
All right.
We do like Mike and Jake's bold statements of the game or something,
All right. That'll be.
So I like it. Let's run with it.
So we don't have no post games. Now, if the Bills lose, obviously we're going to need some therapy.
Oh gosh,
right.
I don't even want to think about that.
Right. If they were to lose, we'll have a post game. But right now, I've made some commitments to my son. He's also fighting a battle with his Ravens. They're in a dogfight trying to make the playoffs. He told me they were playing at 1:00 today, so that's why I said we weren't going to do a post game show. But he plays at 10. We're going to have two TVs going. His game will be on. The Bills game will be on. I got to give him some support, and I got to be there just in case his Ravens don't come through because he takes it hard when his team loses. So we'll be.
I love that.
So no post game today, and let's go Buffalo. I appreciate all you out there in the channel. I love it. We had a lot of family members out there today. And even those that don't have the last name of Thornton and Podger, we appreciate you and consider you family as well for coming out there and supporting us in the channel. And let's see here what other predictions we got. Big J. I keep saying Big J. It's Big L, Uncle J. Uncle J coming in big with a 42-21 prediction. Oh my goodness. We'll see what happens there. We don't like to go that big on our predictions because every time we have in the past,
it makes me nervous. I don't like doing that. We've kind of cursed him a few times, so we're done with that. I even think the 31-14, that's a little. We're getting a little too confident now. We like to keep right at level. Water always finds its level.
Uncle Jay saying this whole show is bold.
I think it is. Uncle Jay. Glad to be here, Mike. Again, thank you for the opportunity. It's phenomenal. We always do a great show here. So
it's a lot of fun. And hopefully I know you and your dad. If you're a Sabre fan, go check out the show my dad and I did last Thursday. We've had a lot of good feedback from folks who are Sabre fans. So if you're a Bills fan, most cases, if you're a Sabre fan as well. So check out that show. I think you'll really like it. I mean, my dad and I brought back a lot of good memories when I was researching that. So a lot of fun on that show. And I think I know Big Al was out there to see it. You were out there too, Jake. So it was a good time. And we're gonna do something similar. I mean, it's hard. It's crazy to me that we are. We've got this game and next week, and then we're into the playoffs. And it just feels like yesterday we were in like week 3, week 4, and here we are at the end of the season already.
I know it.
It's crazy to me. But
hey, shout out to my buddy Mike from Seattle. He's he goes as Bob Fink 123. I haven't seen that name in forever, Mike. I freaking love that man. He has some of the greatest favorites of all time on YouTube. If you ever go to his channel, he's just got a list of things. Just phenomenal stuff. So glad you're out there, Mike. Welcome, baby.
His name's Mike?
Yeah, his name is Mike. Great name.
Good name. And what,
so he lives in Seattle.
Okay.
And I always ask him about this. Mike, you were talking about, the game being at 1, but it's actually at 10. How nice is that to just kind of wake up and just have football on right from the get-go? I mean, that's phenomenal.
Yeah, it's awesome. It's awesome for us.
And then you get a London game thrown into the mix. That game probably starts at 5 a.m. your time or something like that. So it's cool to see. That's just great. And then you get the night game too. And when the night game's over, it's usually maybe 8:30.
Yeah.
So it's not too late. Yeah.
No, I definitely It's one of the big bonuses for being out here on the West Coast is being able to watch
That is
football so
nice.
early. And so you were saying he has a favorites like he on his channel. He has a
Oh yeah,
channel.
he's just got a bunch. It's a bunch of nonsense. I love it
Oh,
though,
okay.
Mike. Yeah. So I don't know. I don't know if he's updated it recently or not, but yeah, it's good stuff. So, anyways, yeah, I'm glad that he's out there. Good to see you, Mike. Hope you can get home soon, man. It'll be fun.
Yeah, thanks for joining us today. Mike, sounds like he might have been out there in the past. I mean, maybe he was like Uncle Jay, just a silent partner out there.
Yeah, I think he chimes in from time to time. He actually went to the Seattle Kraken Sabres game
Oh,
not too
nice,
long ago when they were out there. So I
nice,
think
nice.
Mike, I don't know if you did. I think he did get the season tickets for the Seattle Kraken, so he gets to go to all those games,
Oh,
which is pretty
awesome,
cool.
awesome.
Yeah.
That'd
Yep.
be a fun trip to go over there from here. It's not too bad of a trip for us.
Nice.
Love to see them, and I think the Sabres. I mean, the future looks bright. I know it's tough, but everyone knew this
Tough
year.
loss yesterday. It was an
Yeah,
overtime loss, but hey, we'll take it,
overtime
Mike.
loss against the Bruins is always tough, but yeah, look, future looks really bright. I think next year with some of the prospects, Owen Power coming over from Michigan, I think
Oh yeah.
team's going to start turning around. I really believe in UPL. I know a lot of folks are back and
I love
forth
him.
on him. I think
Yeah.
the future looks bright. We got some young prospects on goal as well, so that's going to be fun. But
One of the best
anyway,
names in the NHL too. I
and
love
we'll
the
be
name.
talking a lot more about them, as football transitions away from us. Unfortunately, we'll shift over and
Yeah.
do a little bit more. But during the season, Jake, we're gonna have lots of things to talk about. We're gonna talk about the upcoming draft. We'll have shows about that. We'll have a
Absolutely.
draft post game where post draft show where we talked about who we picked um, and we'll use the jersey ranking that I brought out this year. And you haven't a chance. You got to go watch my show. I put together what I call the jersey scale, and
Okay.
I'm gonna let you go watch it, and we'll use that
I
scale in
will.
the future.
Yeah. That's
Um,
fun.
any last thoughts, Jake, before we get out of here and get
No,
ready for the
no,
game?
I can't wait to see the snowflakes on the TV. It's going to be awesome, Mike. I hope I see a lot of white on the ground. I mean, I want the snow to just continue throughout. Great for the NFL films footage. I think the corners are going to just lose their footing all day today. We're going to tear them apart through the air. I know you're big on the run game being huge today. I think we're going to throw the football. Josh is going to have over 300 yards. Big day for us. 31-14 Bills. Let's go.
All right, let's go. And Uncle Jay says, no one's ever accused me of being quiet.
That may be true. That might be true. Yes.
Until
I love
now,
it.
until today, he was
Yeah.
very quiet in the channel. But you did say a lot of times he gets the notification a little late and he's
Yep.
not able. So he got on there
Yeah, he
super
always
early
says he
today.
tries to chime in. I appreciate it, Uncle Jay. Thank you for
You know
that.
what might have helped? Today was the day I actually normally we do the show an hour early, and
Yeah.
I told Jake, look, that 7 o'clock is just too early for me. Can we do 8 o'clock on my time?
That's fair.
And so
Yeah.
I think that might have helped as well.
Oh, of course.
All right.
Absolutely.
Well, everyone, enjoy the game. Let's go, Buffalo. We'll talk to you soon. Again, if you're new to the channel and you haven't hit that button, hit that subscribe button for us. Give us a like, share, throw the comments out in the channel. We love comments. We check them out all the time, and we respond to pretty much every comment that comes into our channel. So appreciate you all. See you soon. Jake, thanks again. Always good stuff from me, man. Take care.
Absolutely. All right, guys. Go Bills.